अंकित सर, गुड मॉर्निंग।
गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
और सर कैसे हैं?
हाँ बढ़िया है सर।
सर स्टार्ट करें?
हाँ सर। ओके सर।
जी जी नेहा।
Good morning, sir. In today's faculty development program, we are privileged to have with us Dr. Ankit Kumar Jain, sir. Dr. Ankit Kumar Jain sir, is assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering in NIT Kurukshetra. He has done his PhD from the Department of Computer Science Engineering, NIT Kurukshetra. His area of interest is cyber and web security, mobile security, machine learning, and security issues in IoTs and online network analysis. He has many publications in national and international journals of repute. It is a pleasure to invite such an eminent personality, Dr. Ankit Kumar sir. Please welcome sir. Start for the session.
Thank you for the nice introduction.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So now I am starting my talk. So this talk is going to be totally practically. So in this talk we will discuss the how to just implement the blocks in the blockchain and how to use the different ID or the software to implement the applications in the blockchain. So kindly so there is a we have also implement some projects. So I have Anshul and he is my master student. He has also experience in the software engineering like Infosys. So Anshul, are you here? So kindly unmute your microphone.
Yes, sir, I am here.
So Anshul will explain some project, the implementation of the blockchain, and also just explain some projects. So Anshul, kindly share your screen, and just you can start the details.
Hello, everybody. I'm Anshul, and I'm doing my MTech thesis under Dr. Ankit Kumar Jain, sir. And right now, I am going to describe all the practical side of blockchain, how everything is connected, and a little demo in Python. And then after that, an example of how we can use it in applications, like how the applications are going to work on the blockchain. So that is going to be there. And uh, the example which I'm going to use to describe all the blockchain is like this. There's a company called Kickstarter. So what it does is that you can create a campaign there. Like what kind of campaigns? You can create any kind of campaign. Like you have some idea and you don't have any money for that idea. So you want people to join you and give you money so that you can create that idea in reality. So what happens is like there is one campaign here, and like this campaign pledged to get $10,000 as a goal. Right now it has 451 backers. Means 451 people have invested in this idea, and it has 11 days to go. And right now it has contributed $15,000 in the donation. So what happens sometimes, those who are creating the campaign, they are not able to fulfill all the demands, or the campaign fails. This can happen at any time because it is an idea, and when we are producing it in reality, then many things can go wrong and things can haywire. Like you can see, can everybody see my screen?
Sorry, sir, but I think you are not sharing your PPT.
Not now, Anshul. It is not visible.
Okay, sir. Uh, uh, so right now,
Now it is visible.
okay, so this is the company, like Kickstarter, and here anybody can create a campaign, and they can people can contribute money, and like this is a campaign going on. So everything here, like it has collected $8,000 and 15,000 is its goal, and 93 people have contributed. So what can go wrong in this is that sometimes projects fail. Okay, so when projects fail, the contributors, they don't get their money back, because all the money has been invested in producing that project which has been failed. It is a normal thing when we are doing something. We can projects can fail, big projects also fail, but sometimes what people do is they cheat. They don't provide, they just say that okay, this happened and we are not getting all the money, and we are not giving the money, and our project failed, so all the contributors money go to dump. So how we can give the investors or the right to choose like where to spend the money? That is going to be the examples of how we are going to do it in the blockchain. This is like all the project, all the code of what we are going to do. I'm going to explain it in the later session of this lecture, but I'm going to start with a blockchain demo of how like we can be, how the working of blockchain is happening. A simple like a Bitcoin is being generated, or the code behind blocks in the Bitcoin. So there is a very good website. This website, like Anders Brownworth, has created a little demo of blockchains. Like, so this is a little block, a little demo of block. So what is inside a block? So there is one is block, like if you want to see the transactions. So this is what a block looks like. Inside a block is a block number, and then there is this nonce. This is a very important part of a block. And then there is transactions, all the transactions like from Darcy to Bingley, there is $25 and all this. And this is the hash value. Like this is the hash value which is equal to this. Like this is the hash value of previous block, and what a miner is doing in that block is he or she is generating the hash value according to all these things. And like when I mine this, I am getting a new hash. So what is happening is this number nonce. The miner is changing this nonce number, because transactions you cannot change, previous hash is the same, you cannot change the previous hash, block number is the same. So what is going to be changed is this nonce number. What miners do, they hit different nonce, and what is the target value? Target value is like, you can observe that there are 5 leading zeros in every hash number. Like if you see all the blockchain, you can see 5 leading, there are 4 leading zero, there are 4 leading zero, okay, and there are 5 leading zeros here. So these leading zeros are the difficulty level of any blockchain. When a miner is mining a blockchain, so this is the difficulty level. Like you have to find a hash value which produce 4 leading zero or 5 leading zero inside of it. Right now in Bitcoin there are 18 leading zeros there. Like you have to find a nonce, which you have to find a hash value which contains 18 leading zeros. So this is like the difficulty level. I am going to explain all this in this example. So what happens is how we can achieve that is by using this number, is this nonce. Okay, so this is the block. And one more thing is that how the security is maintained in the blockchain. If I am going to change like something in this data, can everybody hear? Can everybody able to hear me? I'm just confirming.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So if I change something in this data, so this block get read, means this block is wrong now, and all the preceding blocks will also be wrong. So if somebody is going to be able to change data of one block, like these are actual transactions. If somebody is able to change the transaction of one place, so every other block is going to be changed, and that miner has to mine all these blocks to take one change, and it takes like 10 minutes to mine one block. So it is not practically possible to change the value of any previous block so that you can change all the values. So that is the security inbuilt inside the blockchain, so that you cannot just hack with the system and change the values. So this is like a little demo, and right now we are going to see how a block is going to build. This is in Python, and like we are using Flask, and Flask is like a little library used in Python to create web apps. So we are using creating a blockchain. Okay. Now to create a blockchain, first we need to create a Genesis block. But Genesis block is like you can see this block is called Genesis block. Like this is the starting of any blockchain. In this block, the previous hash value is 0. Like there was no previous block, so the previous hash value of this block is 0, and you cannot change the previous hash value. So at any time we are going to create a blockchain, we have to create a Genesis block by ourselves. Nobody is going to create that first block. We have to mine that first block by ourselves. So when Bitcoin was first created, or any cryptocurrency is first created, they had created the Genesis block. And in case of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, the founder of that, created that Genesis block. So what is inside this Genesis block is a proof. So what is this proof? A proof is like the work what miner has done in creating, like in this example I have told you that we have to find this nonce value to generate this hash. This hash is going to only to be generated when we have found a particular nonce which can give us the hash which has leading 4 zeros. So this is the work we have to do, and the proof of that work is going to be in this block. Okay. So a little create block create block method is there. Like we have to create index of that block. Like in this we have block number, index, and then timestamp. Timestamp is another field also, which you know what timestamp is. But what is the use of the timestamp in the block is that when we are creating a nonce, when we are finding a nonce, then it takes some time to find a nonce, and after some amount of time the system again starts, like 10 seconds or 15 seconds, the system again starts. It is highly computational task. So if we are not and when we are using high-end machines, then that nonce value is being there are 52,000 nonces maybe there. So we have covered, like in the first round we have covered all the nonces, but we have not found any hash value which contains all the leading 4 zeros. So what this timestamp field is going to do is that after every second there is going to be a change in timestamp. So after every second there is going to be change in timestamp, and all these values are going to be changed, because if you are changing like 1 bit of data in this, the block is going to be changed. Okay. And if you are changing block number here, then also block is going to be changed. Everything is connected to this hash value. So anywhere you change, you give a new hash value. Okay. So that's why timestamp is important, because when you are using GPU or like a high-end machine, then it is going to take a very less amount of time to cover all the nonces. And it has not found the correct hash. So after 1 second, the timestamp is going to change, and we have all the previous nonces again with us, so we can try with all those nonces. And then there is another thing called as proof. So what proof does is that I'm going to tell this in this method, in this proof of work method. So in this proof of work method, what happens is like when a miner is solving some hash value, so we have to provide some difficulty so that miner does not just quickly solve it and then just produce a block and get the coins. So but we have to give some difficulty level to that miner, so that they get some time and mine the block. Now I'm saying mining, like what is mining? So mining is like there are transactions in every block. Okay. So what these transactions have to be like, Darcy gives Bingley $25, and again if somewhere Bingley wants to give somebody some money. So we know that Bingley has $25 because there is a transaction where Bingley has $25. There is no account, like there is no wallet of some kind where you have like $100 there or 100 bitcoins there. All happens with these transactions. Like this transaction has $25 and we know that Bingley has $25 here. So again, if Bingley wants to give $25 to somebody, so there we are going to uh, go through this transaction. Okay, and from this transaction we can only confirm that okay, he has $25. That's how miners all proof of work happens, and this is the kind of thing. Okay, and then in the proof of work what we are doing is we are checking if the proof like what do we have to check. Like here we have to check like if there are 4 leading zeros in the hash is like we are using SHA-256 hashing algorithm, and it gives us 64-bit hexadecimal values. Okay, so here but the difficulty level is new proof is equal to 1 right now. You can think of 1 as nonce value. Like we are starting from 1, and then we are going to, then in second time we are going to 2 and then 3. Okay, like this. I'm writing like this is a number 139358. If I'm starting with 1, 2, 3, like okay, and then I do 139358. If I go to this number, then I can find I found my block. So that's how nonce values change, and we can find our block. What miners do, they find these nonce values, and that's how we give validation to a block, and that block get chained to the blockchain. So uh, uh, this is all the function for that. Like when we are started with 1 and then we create a hash value, like hash operation, that is a difficulty level. What this hash operation does is that it takes the new proof, like the nonce value of this and the previous proof is this, the previous hash value, and to give the difficulty we are squaring it, and it should not be symmetric. Like what the symmetry means, if I give plus here, then new proof, let's say we are doing this, then new proof plus previous proof. What is the symmetry in that is that new proof plus previous proof is equal to previous proof plus new proof. So that is the symmetry, but we don't want that symmetry because after some amount of time it is going to give the same answer, so it is very predictable. So not doing that, we are giving minus, because new proof minus previous proof is not equal to previous proof minus new proof. This is all mathematics, and so that's how we create a hash operation. And after doing the hash operation, we see that if it contains the leading zeros. If it contains the leading zeros, then we are done. We have found our hash value, and we can mine this block. This block is mined. And what is the main idea behind it, or why we are using proof of work, is because like we need to because there are many players in distributed computing. Like many players are participating and competing with each other to find a block, and so so that nobody can do the corruption in the blockchain, we have to give them some difficulty level, so that if they are going to let's say the scenario, like we have 51% of the like more than 50% of the blockchain we have under our control. Like we are getting the computational power of more than 50% of the chain. So for that, if we are getting that amount of computation power, we are giving many so much of charges, because all the computational power is what it is, like high-end CPUs and all that. So it takes money to get all that computational power in our hands. So if we are taking all that computational power, we are giving so much money. So it is a loss situation for the cheater. So that's why all this difficulty level is there. And then, and what happens in this is chain valid. Like again, going through the process, we have a blockchain. What happens in it is initially we have to create a genesis block. This is the genesis block, and then inside this, when we create a block, we give it index value and timestamp and all this, and then we give a proof of work theorem which is the main part of this blockchain, which is used by miners to prove to mine all this. And when we are adding the block, like this block, like if you are adding last block in the blockchain, what happens is that we have to add, or we have to check all these, are all the previous blocks valid, because if we change the value in this block, all the following blocks will be invalid. We have to mine every other block. So what we have to do in the previous chain, in the valid chain, we have to check from the beginning, from all the way to the beginning, and then we can only uh, say that the chain is valid. So what happens in this is, we first chain of, like this is our chain here. When we are creating a new block, we are appending to this chain, and in this chain, the previous, firstly we are starting with the zeroth block. Okay, and then block index, like we are starting with the zeroth block, the genesis block, and then this block is first block, and we are going to run all this for the last over chain. And this is all the, like, if the previous hash value, like this is the one, if the previous hash value is not equal to the hash value of this block, like the hash value of this block is this one, and the previous hash value of this block is this, so this has to match with this. Like if I change this, then everything is like this block contains something else and this block contains something else, so we have to we have to check all these operations, and this is going to be the valid chain operation. Okay, so this is a little block which blockchain demo in Python, and this is nothing, this is just app to do all the things. I'm not going to do that. So okay, this is a little block, but how this is an example of blockchain in the process of cryptocurrency or transactions, like we are doing transactions, but we want to use blockchain in applications, like I gave the example of Kickstarter. Like how are we going to solve these problems with the help of blockchain? Because what as you have seen here, what blockchain does, it gives us the security inherent to the process. Like we don't have to change anything, or once the contract is there, like if this is the block, if this block has been mined and it is in the blockchain, nobody can change. If you want to give transaction, if you want to do transaction in the last block, okay, if you want to change the transaction in the last block and you have $14 but you want $15, so you have to go back to all the way back, and these transactions are from all the like all the people who are using Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency like Ethereum or anything else. So it will be a long back way if you want to change one transaction only. Okay, so security is inbuilt in all this. So how the main question now is, how are we going to change all this, use all this in creating applications? So the person, so this person, Vitalik Buterin, he is the mind behind Ethereum, which gives us the opportunity to create applications, and we can deploy those applications in the blockchain, and anybody can use them. You just need ethers for that. Like Bitcoins have Bitcoins as a cryptocurrency, and Facebook has its another cryptocurrencies like this. Ethereum has its another cryptocurrency called Ether. So what he did is like he created smart contracts. He introduced the concept of smart contracts. So what are the smart contracts? Is like if you are using, if you are, you can see on the screen, like we have created a campaign contract which initializes a campaign. Like here we have a campaign going on, and there are people who can participate, and there are people who can create a campaign. So like this is a campaign which in which people can request all the campaigns and can change the functions in the campaigns, and something like this. Okay, so this is where we can deploy our, or we can use our ideas of applications and deploy that on the blockchain, and all the benefits of the blockchain, like the security and distributed computedness and computation, all this we can get benefit. And a little demo of how Ethereum works, or everything inside it works, is here. So this is our simple inbox application. So what we are doing is we are using just now. Okay, one more thing. Solidity is a language, like there is Java, JavaScript. Solidity is also a language which is used to create smart contracts in Ethereum. Okay, so this is going to be the language we are going to use, and it is mostly based on JavaScript. Like JavaScript is there, and all the document, all the syntax is similar to JavaScript. So it's going to be somewhat easy. So what happening here is like, so what is a smart contract again? So a smart contract is a simply a program. Okay, a smart contract is a program which it's like, you can think of it like a transaction. Like this is a transaction in blockchain, and you cannot change this transaction because it is in the blockchain. Smart contract is like a program which is like a transactions. If you once deploy it on the blockchain, then you cannot change it. Okay, it's like a permanent contract, like a word written on the stone, something like that. And when you cannot change it, then you cannot corrupt it. This is the concept. So we are going to create a little smart contract for us. This is a contract like inbox contract, and what we are going to do is a simple thing, like when we are creating this inbox contract, we are initializing it with a message, and when you are set, and we can change the message in that. This is a structure of Solidity, or say Ethereum project. So what happens is, like, there is a file called .sol. It is of Solidity, simple contract. Like if you are creating a contract on some campaign, then you are giving it the name of campaign.sol and something like that. And like I'm using inbox, and I'm giving it inbox. So this is a simple contract, and what I'm doing, I have a message field. When I am creating the contract, I have to give it initial message, and that message is going to be saved in the message field. And after that, I can use the set message function, which is going to be giving me which I have to provide a new message, so it will produce a new message. So what happens is, like, now I have to test this function. Okay, so this is the code for testing all this function. So if I can give you this. This one. Now, what is this Ethereum? This remix in Ethereum, it is like an IDE. It is an IDE which is online, and you can get a lot of benefits from it. Like you don't have to like, I have created these files like inbox.text.js. All the tests are there. I'm going to describe it in later. And compile.js, how we are going to compile all this in, and deploy.js, we have to use another API to deploy all these things. So not going to go into all this headache. We are just going to use Ethereum for the like for initial understanding of what it is. I have used 0.4.7 version of Solidity. Okay. So like, this is my contract. Okay, so this is my contract, and I can. Oh, okay. So what now you can see that I cannot use this to deploy my contract. Why? Because like, if you can see the error message, what is going to happen is, if I use injected Web3, it is going to give me that no injected Web3 provider found. Why is that? Because we need a MetaMask. what is MetaMask is it is an application. Like this is an application, MetaMask. So what it gives is it gives us a test network so that we can test our applications and deploy them on a test environment and check them if there is any, because we don't want to use some actual ethers or some actual bitcoins to test our simple applications. So okay, so it gives us a demo of say, duplicate bitcoins or ethers so that we can check our application. So this is a very this is a Chrome extension and we can use that. So if I use the same thing here, like if I change this contract and I use this contract here, so what is going to happen is, like if I compile Invox, it is compiling, and if I deploy this contract onto the blockchain, what is happening is like it is deployed. It has deployed. So I have used to delete all the previous contracts, and now again I deploy it. So here is my Invox contract. I have created set message. Here is the set message function, and message is the function which is going to be automatically generate, because when all the static variables or the variables we are going to use in the contract, they are going to be automatically generated. They are going to be automatically converted into the function. This ID is going to automatically generate them in the function. So when I'm deploying the contract, okay, first time I deployed the contract, I didn't give it any message. So when I click on the message field, I don't get any message. It is a string, which is an empty string. If you can see it, font size here. So if you can just see. Now what's happening is, like I have not given any initial message when I deployed the contract. So it is initially empty. Now I can change the field in the contract. So let's say hi. So I'm changing the contract, and you can see the contract has been we have deployed the thing. Now what happens is, when we change something in the contract, okay, all those changes, if I use injected web3 is what it is, Rinkeby network. Rinkeby is like Ethereum is there, and there is something called as Rinkeby. These are all test networks where we can test applications and all that. So what happens is, I have an account which contains these many ethers, 18.7 ethers, and when I deploy the contract, like the initial message hi, so this contract is going to be deployed. Now you can see this notification. But now MetaMask is active, and it is saying that I will get a fees of 0.000229 ethers to deploy this contract on the network. So what is happening is, when I am deploying something on the network, it is calculating all the cost. What I am doing is, I am doing a simple calculation here. This is like changing my initial state of the message, and here also I'm changing my initial state of the message. So all these things have some values, or like some you need to give some fees to deploy all these things on the network. Why fees? Because like if some malicious user is going to deploy something on the network, like they have created infinite loop. So what will happen is, like all the network is going to go to halt, because infinite loop is going to take infinite amount of time. So to avoid that, okay, so if I am going to deploy infinite loop into the network, I have to give a lot of money, okay, and after some amount of time, like the loop is going to go on and go on. After some amount of time, all the money in my wallet will get exhausted, okay. So that is all these fees is to stop the corrupt or malicious users to not hold the blockchain or all the chain of networks. So this anything you will do, you will have to give some fees to the network, okay. So this is the main thing in deploying anything to the network. So like if I confirm this, and it is going to be in the, okay, this is live. Live means it is actually going to deploy on this Rinkeby network chain, and I can go here Now this is it's deploying right now, and the status is pending and it is taking some time. So what is happening? It has deployed. Okay, you can see that it has been deployed. So this is a deployed network. This is the deployed over here, and you can now. It is taking some time. So in this is a deployed contract on the blockchain, on the live Ethereum blockchain. Anybody can go there on this path and they can search this. There is a website called Etherscan. And this is my it's the address where my contract has been deployed. Okay, so I can paste this address here. This is it's a website, Etherscan, which can give you all the deployed networks. Okay, now you cannot see my network here. Why? Because this is a test network. Okay, this can only be seen if you are using the actual if you are deploying it on the actual network. Okay, so here you can see all the in Rinkeby test network, my contract has been successfully deployed, and all the from which vendor it has been deployed and to what address it has been deployed. All the information is here. Anybody can go there and search that. We can also go to rinkeby.scan.io, and this is the test network which I was talking about, where you can search any address of the network and it will give you the network. Like we have just deployed a network, and this is the address, and here you can see the all the things. What amount of gas limit? Gas limit is like all the things we have written here. All the things are going to convert into some amount of money, and they are going to like gas is the value. Gas is the value which is like a currency in terms of ethers, and that converts into ethers. Like there are 1 million gas value converts into 1 ether, so it has a lot of scope in that. So one thing is that if anybody is like set messages, what it's doing is like it's changing the value inside the contract which we have deployed. So to change anything inside the contract, we have to give some ethers, or we have to give some value. We have to provide some money to that. Okay, when I'm going to use set message, it is again going to ask me, okay, you have to give this many gas fees to change that network. Okay, so anybody who is going to change to a network or doing something to the network, they have to provide this amount of money to the network. Okay, so if I'm confirming, then this transaction has been taken place, and I can see here 12 flow confirmations have been done. So you can see here nonce thing. In the nonce of it is 7, and it is input data, and all these things are going to help in calculating the hash value of this block. So this is the practical implementation of how you can deploy something on the Ethereum or test networks. If you want to deploy on actual networks with your actual money, there are different accounts which you can use. Like in this MetaMask is just an application which like this uTorrent is an application which gives you all, which you can use to handle all your torrents. It's nothing. It's not like you are generating torrents. You are downloading actually from there. It's just that you are using it to download things from different users. That's how MetaMask is working. It's not actually something which is like a wallet to you. It's just different networks are showing here, and you can just choose them and test your things, or you can actually deploy it into the main networks. Okay, so in the main network I don't have any money, like 0 ethers. Okay, but in the test network I have money. I can get the money from Rinkeby faucet. It's a faucet which you can get the money. You can ask to get all the ethers. So what you have to do is you have to do a post on Twitter or Facebook, and you have to paste the link of that post, and they are going to give you the ethers. Okay, so that's how I got my ethers. And here I can use these ethers to generate all this transaction. Like you can see what is my activity going on here. I have deployed a contract. Yeah, it gives me all these things. I have deployed a contract, and then I use the money for some message called set message here, what I have used. So these are all the things which you can use. And now without main applications. Okay. So this is how you can see we can deploy the network and all these things. But what is going on behind the scenes? So this all is going on behind the scenes. So what is happening is like this is our inbox contract and all the thing. And in the testing file, what we are doing is we are testing now if you are deploying some network something on the network and it is costing you money, so you want to be 100% sure that all the functions and all the things are working in the way you want them to work. Okay, so you need a lot of testing to do that. So there are different libraries which are like Ganesh CLI and Web3. These are the libraries which are going to be very helpful for testing. So what Ganesh is, Ganesh, I don't know how to spell it. So what it is a provider like Web3. Like you can see that there are many cryptocurrencies. Like there is Ethereum, there is Ripple, Bitcoin, Ethereum Classic. There is a whole story about Ethereum Classic and Ethereum and Jetcash. So, but we like if we are going to create application in one cryptocurrency and we want to do and we want to convert it in another, so we have to do again go through a lot of changes. So to not go to all that havoc, we have this library called as Web3. Okay, what Web3 does is it gives us an API or API from all these cryptocurrencies to our applications. So what we can only do is we can give it a provider. So Ganesh is a provider, and we can provide it in Web3, and then what it gives is like it gives us all the applications of that cryptocurrency which we are going to use. Like in this case, we are using all these things, and so uh, in the behind the scenes we are like in the inbox test.js. What we are doing is we are doing some tests, like how our tests going to work, like a little example of how tests are working. I have created this simple class called car, and there is a park class, park function, and drive function. What park function does, it is returns all the it returns a word called stop, and drive function it gives a return called roam. Okay? Roam. And then uh, how are we going to test all this? So there are three functions here. One is called describe, and other is called it, and there is one more function called before each. I will going to do it later. So what describe does it? So firstly it. So what it does, it is a test. Okay, it can park. It is what? It is like a car. Okay, car can park. Okay, so it can park. Can park is just a name. What we are going to do here. Okay, and then const car is equal to new car. We are creating a new instance of the car, and assert is a library which is a JavaScript library, and assert what it does, it just equates or do functions on all the values. So what car.park is doing, it is giving us the stops, and assert is going to check all these things. Okay, and similarly can drive functions we are testing, and it gives the same thing. So this is just a test, a simple test and simple function. So it function is used to describe a test, and describe function is used to describe all, like it is a collection of all the tests. You can use this describe to collect all the tests in one. Like for a car, we have two functions and we want to test all these functions, so we are using describe function to test all this. Okay, so if we are using our so what I have done is in package.json file, I have given it Mocha. What is Mocha? Mocha is a test library. I have also used it in compile.js. Okay. So what is Mocha? Is like it's a library which is using which just makes our life simpler when we are using we are doing testing on Ethereum contracts. So it does all the heavy lifting of all the testing, and we just have to get this describe and it functions are actually the Mocha function are inside Mocha, okay, Mocha library. So what we are doing is like using all these functions from Mocha library and then using them. So I'm going to it's going to take some time, and after that it is going to give us the results. I tested this before, and these are the results. So you can see that Mocha library is, I don't know how to see it, Mocha Mocha. So it is running, and you can see so it has created the tests. Okay. Now what I did was like I didn't save it in this before. So all these tests, all the past tests are actually from our actually actual this these are the actual tests which are going to be tested before after this, and this is just a demo testing. And so yes, we can see that it has given us okay, can park yes and can drive. All these tests have been passed. Okay, so you can see the how easy Mocha does everything for us to test. And you have seen like stop is okay. And if I change something in this, like if I change the name of stop and I then again test it, it's going to fail that test. Hopefully. It takes like some amount of time. Okay, so you can see that can drive test has passed because it is giving what we are expecting from it, and the second test has been failed, and it's giving a beautiful like a valuable error we can roam around. So you have seen like what we can do with this library and that. So we have to use all these kind of things in our deployment of any contract. What Ethereum does, but like Remix does, it does it all. It handles all this by itself. Okay. So, but we cannot use Ethereum for everything. It's just for like simple contracts or say, simple testing things. You cannot just use it for everything. So we have to do all these things in our editors or by ourselves in the command line. So how like this is a simple little test for simple contract for inbox, and we have two functions like firstly we are what test we are going to do in this is like when we are deploying the contract, this function initial like we have to provide initial message, and this changes the state of message function. And second test is if we are going to change the message, then set message can do that. Okay, these two tests we are going to do. So but what will happen, you know describe and you know it like deploys a contract. It is going to check if you can deploy a contract. Okay, if this application can deploy a contract. Second test what we are going to do is like has a default message. Default message is like here initial message we are going to deploy. It's going to test this functionality. And then third thing is can change a message for set message field. These are the three things we are going to test, and these are the only things we can test because it is a very small application. So these are the tests. I'm going to describe them later. Firstly, but before each does is like every time we have to test something, we have to deploy. Firstly, we have to deploy the contract. Okay, we have to test one thing. We have to deploy the contract. Second thing, we have to deploy the contract. Why? Because it is not on the network. We are doing it on the our basic test network. That's why we have to deploy everything again and again. So, but before each function, it is also a function for Mocha. So, what before it does is that it is like a provider or like a decorator, a generator which just generate this code, the code written inside it, before every if statement. Okay. Before every test, firstly it does this, and then it does do the test. So in before it, what we are doing, we are these are async, and all this is just JavaScript ES6 notations, and I'm not going to say anything on that. So what we are doing is we are getting accounts. So you can see when I deployed my ran my first test, it has given me some accounts. These are like hex values, and these are the accounts. You can see that these are similar to what we have seen here. See, these are the same accounts that we are seeing here. So why are these accounts being generated? Web3, as I've told you, that it is a medium from different blockchains to our application. So what it does is it gives us demo accounts, so we can test on those accounts. Okay, we need some different accounts for our distributed for the testing of the distributed application. So it gives us, like, it has given us in here 10 accounts, I think. Okay, so we can use all these accounts for different purposes in our application. Right now, like when I'm using when I'm deploying inbox contract, I'm using the first contract, like the first accounts of 0. This account, all these accounts are here, 10 accounts, and this is a list of accounts. So I'm using like first account to deploy my contract. Okay, so that's what Web3 provides. Like we don't have to manually create all these accounts. It just gives us all the account, and we can just use them anywhere. So this is just a deploy statement, like a natural thing, or a starter code you have to use every time when you are deploying something. So inbox is what it Ethereum web3.ethereum.contract. This is a class. It's a class which is going to create the contract and deploy it on the network. And then for deploying, we are giving it bytecode. And what are the arguments? Argument is the initial. This argument is the initial message which we are going to give to the Ethereum network. If we don't provide any argument, we don't have to provide any argument. We can just leave it alone. And if we have like 2-3 arguments, we have to provide all the 2-3 arguments in this list, like in different forms. So send is like from where we are going to, from what account we are going to send this, and this gas value. This is an important thing, because like I have said, described before, like whenever we are going to deploy something on the account, we have to give some ethers or some currency so that we can deploy the account on that. So this gas value is the same thing. Okay. This gas value is the thing, like we are giving you this amount of money, and we have this amount of money, and we are giving you this amount of money, and you have to you can take all the money you want and deploy it in the website or blockchain. Okay, so it does all that. Every time we are checking anything, we are going to do all the steps. Before everything, we are going to do these steps, and then only our contract is going to deploy, and these functions are going to be checked. So what deploys a contract does, it asserts like inbox of option of address. It just say, checks that if address field is there in the contract. Okay, and has a default message. What it does the same thing, like it checks if there is a like we have given it hi there, and we are going to check if the initial message is there or not, like I have described in the same here. Okay, and can change the message. It does that thing. Okay, so this is the inbox test, how we are going to test all these things. And I think I ran it before. It takes long time, so I'm not going to run it again. So you can see that I have given it console.log. So that's why all these accounts are being printed again and again. So this is the account. First deploys a contract, it checks out, and then has a default message. Okay, it's also testing and can change the message. All the tests are passed. So yes, our applications which we have assumed all the workings, and it's working the same. So we can deploy it on the network. So what is the next step? So next step is compiling phase. What it does is like where is our contract? So our contract is in the contracts file. It's normal thing. I don't think that I need to describe this. So in the contracts file, we have our network and we have our contract and module.exports. Exports is like, what is the main thing I'm going to describe here is Solc. But this Solc, it is a library which is Solidity compiler. Okay, it is going to compile. Solidity compiler is the full form of Solc. So it's going to compile like the source, okay, source of one. What does this mean is that when we are compiling something, we are getting a lot of arguments, and the source argument is the one we are interested in, and dot contracts of inbox is just the field of that argument. So here we are compiling the code, and in deploy.js, now we have to deploy it somewhere, okay, and we have to deploy it like on the Ring2B network. So what are we going to do is like there is an application called Infura. Infura is a API. Like I have deployed this network before. So Ring2B API, I have deployed this network and on 8th September, and this is the same network, like this inbox network here, and this Infura library or say API can help us deploy all the network. You can see all the transactions like Ethereum block, Ethereum gas price, all these things, how many transactions are there. Okay, you can just you can see the activity also there. Like on the 8th September I have used it, and then on the 19th September I am using it right now. Okay? So because I have just demonstrated it before, and every transaction and how many network bandwidth it is using, you can see all these things in this, and these are the APIs or keys and security measures. All these things you can check there. So this Infura API we are using in this to generate or say deploy the network, and all these things like account 0, we are deploying it from account 0, which we are given by this Web3 API, and all these things. So this is the basic structure if you want to deploy any network. Like if you want to deploy any Ethereum network on the blockchain, you have to go through all this structure. Why this Ethereum remix IDE of Ethereum is good is because you don't have to go through all these things. If you just want to check your network or just want to test all these things and only do the working on the test network, so you don't have to go through all these things. So to make our life simpler, Ethereum is there, Remix is there. So now the final part of our presentation is the main thing which we have started like from this Kickstarter project. If you remember that. What was the problem is again I'm going to describe the problem is like people, some corrupt people are taking the money of investors and just using it and giving some excuses. Okay, my project failed and something like this, and I cannot give the money to you, and I cannot give the project to you, and so the investor cannot do anything because project failed. So how can we change this, or how can we give some control to the investors so that they can at least control the money which is going to be invested. Like if I am creating a simple project on IoT, then I need some things like some hardware to get the things and to make a project. So when I am when I am taking the hardware from some shop, then I am like, let's say that shop accepts money in cryptocurrency, so I'm giving that money to the that cryptocurrency to the person, and as you can see all the blockchain kind of thing, it happens on the every transaction is recorded, so you cannot just change the transaction. So what is the proposed idea is like there are 94 backers in this project. So whenever like this is the person who is controlling the project's money, okay, so whenever this person, like let's say this person is manager, whenever this person wants to use the money or use some amount of the money, that person is going to generate a request to all these requesters, these investors, and these investors are going to vote whether they want to give the requested money to the manager or no. So this is kind of the distributed blockchain thing we are going to try and do it in Ethereum. So what is the main idea is like, just in summary, we are creating a campaign, and campaign has collected some money, and after collecting money, the manager, these are the investors, like there are 94 investors in the company in the campaign, and we have collected like $1,000. Okay, so I need $500 to purchase some item. I am requesting I am making a request on this campaign, and all the backers or all the investors can give their votes. If they think that the money is going in the right place, or they think that this purchase is valid, or this purchase is necessary, so they are going to vote yes or no, simple yes or no. Okay, now what is here's where democracy plays the part, or all the distributed computing kind of applications or algorithms take the part, is like they work on most of the algorithms of distributed computing work like democracy works. How, like, you have to get a certain percentage of votes to get elected. Okay, if you have those votes, you are good to go. So in this way we are going to use our application or create our application. Is like, if more than 50% of the investors are saying yes, then that request is going to be valid, and manager can use that money in the way we want. So like, this is the contract, and copy and paste it in the blockchain, and I'm reading it on the previous deployed contracts. So this is the contract, and what this contract is doing, I'm going to just describe all the little parts of this contract. Firstly, this is a campaign. Okay, this is a campaign contract, and what we have is we have to create a manager. Okay, manager is going to manage all the, or manager is the one who is going to create the contract. He is the main person who is the contract creator, or is going to handle all the money, or going to produce all the requests. And there are going to be approvers, or say these approvers are the people who have invested in the project, who have given their money to the project. Okay, and there is going to be a field of minimum contribution. What this field is going to do is like, if you want to invest in this campaign, you have to give minimum this amount of money to the contract. Only then your vote will be valid. Okay, because you cannot just give everybody the right to vote. And if you have given like 1 rupee or like 1 ether, and somebody has given like 1500 ethers, so 1500 ether people, person who has given 1500 ether has to say more in the request thing, and the person who has given 1 ether will not has that much amount of effect on the voting. Okay? It is democracy, but it is wealthy democracy. The person who is given more money is going to give is going to have to say more in the all the request kind of thing. Okay? So all these things I'm going to describe in the way. So main thing here is like manager, and there are going to be requests, and there is going to be minimum contribution, and there are going to be approvers who are going to approve all the requests, those who have invested in the project. So one more thing is like, what is the structure of this request? Like when the manager is requesting something, so what is the structure of this request? Is like, firstly there will be a description, like how that requested money is going to be spent, and the value is like how much value, how much money the manager is willing to get. And recipient is like, if you are getting something from some shop, that shop's address is going to be the recipient. Complete is just a field, like if that request has been completed or not. Completed means like everybody approved the request or not. Okay, or one can also like approved or not also can be seen, like if everybody has voted in that request or not. Okay? And then there is approval count, and all these things I'm going to say later. So Firstly, we are going to create campaign. Campaign is like a constructor. In this campaign, we are going to take two arguments. First is minimum. Minimum is like what is going to the minimum amount of money, like this minimum amount of contribution which somebody has to give so that they can be the approvers or the investors of that campaign. And second is the address. Second is the address field. So what this address field does is that it is the creator. Creator is the manager of that campaign, and so minimum contribution and manager is going to be the like this is a simple constructor which is going to be taking place every time somebody deploys that campaign contract on the text network. So second thing is contribute. This function is going to be there when we are contributing, when some contributor is going to contribute to the contract. So you can notice that this is payable. You can see that this is public and all different kind of things, view, return. These are just keywords which are used in the Ethereum blockchain when we are creating a smart contract. Payable means whenever this function is going to be called, you have to give some ether value or some currency so that you can only contribute when you can give some value. So that's why payable is used. Okay. So what it requires is that require is a thing. Require is like when we are using here in tests, like we are using it and describe functions. In the similar way, require is the function. What it does is like it checks if something is okay or not. So what we are going to check in contribute, like when somebody is contributing, when we are giving the money, we have to check if that value of that money is going to be greater than minimum contribution which we have set while creating that contract. Okay, so if that thing is greater than that minimum contribution, then only the things after the required statement are going to run. If things are not, if this value is less than minimum contribution, then this function is going to give an error and you cannot contribute to that contract. So what happens is like if we have given minimum contribution and we are eligible to contribute to that contract, then we are going to be the approver. Okay, so what these approvers is like this function, it's like an array. Okay, now one main thing I want to tell you here is like I described that whenever we are writing some contract and when we are doing something in the contract, we are every transaction or say every function and every line is going to have some value. Like we have to give money to deploy every line of contract. Okay, so we can just simply use an array or the list of approvers, list in the approvers, so that we can just iterate over the approvers and give them the value, like give them the like we can use list in the approvers area here. But we are using mapping here. What is this mapping doing? It's like the hash value, like a dictionary in Python or say map hashing kind of thing. So it's not an iterating thing. It's like when we are giving approvers or something ID, or let's say approver has some ID. So you have to give some key, and that only that key is going to be given by the approver. Okay, so what I'm saying is that it is a constant amount of function. Like you only have to give one amount of time. You cannot just iterate over this approvers list. That's what I'm trying to say here. Because if you can iterate over this approver list, every time you are iterating, you are like there are 100 approvers there. So you are getting 100 iterations there, and that is going to cost a lot of money because many people are going to do contribution in that project, and every time somebody is doing the contribution, that 100 times we have to iterate over this because once you have created an array, you have to iterate over all the length. Even if you are not iterating over all the length, but the system is going to take the money over all the transaction. Okay, so that's why we're using mapping. Mapping is like hashing. It takes constant amount of time to get any approval. Okay, and again, and now you can notice approvers count, because if we have approvers and we have the list of that approvers, why we need approvers count as a different variable? This we are using because we don't want to iterate over these approvers. Okay, if we don't want to iterate over these approvers, we have to get some other thing to get all the approvers count. So that's why approvers count is there. Okay? A different field. You don't. We are not using length of approvers to get the approvers count. We are using different field because of all this. Not using the array. This is a big thing, because arrays are like the basic structure we are going to use in every little project. Okay, list or arrays or any other kind of thing. So to how to overcome that, this mapping is going to be used in Ethereum world to overcome that array situation. We don't have, because it will take lot amount of money to just deploy a little contract. So you can see here that approvers of message sender is equal to true if minimum contribution is given by the approver, and then approvers count is there. Okay? And then create request is the same, like create request is being done by the manager. Okay, manager is going to create the request. He has to give the transcription, value, recipient, and all this kind of things. Okay, now here you can see the memory and storage are two different things in Ethereum. What memory does is like it is a reference, and storage is another keyword. Storage is when we are referencing to some other value, and memory is when we are creating a copy of that request. Okay, so this is just a little difference, and nothing that much is must. So request.push, we are requesting the we have created another request list, and we are pushing it to the new request. And why we are pushing the request? Because we need, if we are creating a website, then we need all the requests, or when we're creating a campaign, we need to get all the requests. Like one manager can request many requests at one time. Okay, because like if he wants something from that shop and from that shop and that shop, he does not have to, he or she does not have to wait for one request to over and then submit another request. They can request any number of times, and then all the things are going to, many requests can take place at one amount of time, at the same amount of same time. So approve request is a function which is going to be used by the approvers, or say the investors. So here what we are going to do, we have two requires. What are these two requires doing? First require is doing the message.sender. Message.sender means, is this being given by the, means it is not message.sender means if that person is actually in the approvers list. Okay, first we are going to check if that person is actually in the approvers list, and secondly we are going to check like what can go wrong is like one approver has given many yes or many no requests. Like this can be a faulty approver, and he has given many yes or no requests to just hack the system. So we don't want to do that. We don't want happen to do that happen. And so what we are doing is we are changing the state of the approver. When an approver is doing some request or given their vote, then we are going to change the state of the approver. If the approver has given the request, we are going to do it true. Okay, so you can see that okay, we are going to give it true, and approval count increases. So what does the finalize function does? It does the same thing. It finalizes the request, and if approval count is greater than or equal to 50%, then we say that okay, you can get the request and you can use the amount of money. So this is the function I have described it, and these are just to get the summary. So now the main thing. I know it was boring, but so this is the main thing. So what we are doing here is so this is the conclusion here. Right now what we have is if you can remember, we have injected the we have used injected web3 to deploy the contract. So now you can, oh yes, one more thing. Okay, to to handle many campaigns, like there are going to be many campaigns going to happen in this there are many campaigns happening right now, you can see that. Okay, so we are also going to have many campaigns. So there is going to be a campaign factory project contract, which is different contract from this contract, which will handle all the deployed campaigns. Okay, so what is happening in this is like create campaign. The manager is going to create the campaign, and we are going to you can see when a new campaign is going to create it, you are going to get a minimum amount of money and also the address of the creator. So here you are getting the address of the creator who is going to create the campaign. That message sender is being transferred to that campaign, and campaign is created that way. So what we have is two contracts in the same file. Okay, so we have two contracts here, you can see. So we are going to deploy the campaign factory contract, and like if we deploy it, and you can see that right now you can see that I am in the injected vacuum, means I am in the network, and it is taking 0.0093 gas or ethers for me to deploy this contract. Okay, so if I confirm it, it is going to deploy the contract the same way it was deployed. It was deployed in the inbox contract. I can see this in the network. It is being deployed and all this kind of thing. Okay? So what we are getting is the contract has been deployed, and you can see that there are the functions which are used, like create campaign and deployed campaign and get deployed campaigns. All these you can use. So like I want to create a campaign, but we are creating campaign, we need minimum amount of money. Like I'm giving 1 ether, and you need to give 1 ether to get. I'm creating the campaign, and again it is getting me. Okay, you can see that the gas conversion is different. Okay, I need to give less amount of money this time. Okay. So it is taking all these things, all the function into account, what we have to go through, and if we confirm that, then it's also deploying. So it has been deployed, and we can see that the networks have been deployed, and we get deployed campaign. We get if we want to get take the campaign, this is the address of deployed contract. Okay. So what is happening here, you can see that we are not getting the campaign where we have deployed. Why? Because we are using the injected Web3 network. So what is happening is like we need different network to deploy the chain and deploy the campaign, and different to campaign vector. Because okay, so I cannot have many networks here. So what is the solution is JavaScript VM. JavaScript VM is like it's a facility in this browser, and it gives it many. You can see that many accounts I am having right now. Okay. So if I am using injected Web3, I only have one account, and if I am using JavaScript VM, these are not actual accounts. These are just created like when I was using this, and these 10 accounts were created. It's the same thing here. Okay. So if I am having 100 ethers here, and if I deploy this contract, okay, and campaign factory contract, okay, this has been deployed, and this is my campaign. And if I now I want to, and you can see that ether amount has changed because I have deployed use some ethers. And if I want to deploy some other contracts, so this contract has also been deployed. You can see here campaign factory has created a create campaign amount, and all the things here. You can see all these things and different things here. So that's how we can deploy the contract. And if we have actual contract to deploy, like if we want to deploy on the actual network, then we can just use say like this MetaMask to change the network, and like main Ethereum network, and it's going to change everything. And you can just like inject it Web3. You can now this change has been there, like E0xe5D, and my network is also 0xe5D same. So that's how we create a contract in this, and different applications can be used to applications can be created by this thing. This is a very simple application. Okay, you have to write many different things here, like you can see again, like deploy.js contract and compile.js thing. Okay, you have to write many different things and deploy the thing, and so it's just a testing thing, and you have to create all the different things like in React.js you have to create the front end and all different parts you have to integrate to create the actual network. So this is just thing which we can use to test the network. So that's my wrap up on this blockchain. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, audience, for the listening us. I will share the code in your respective email IDs.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Anshul, sir. You are imparting your knowledge to all of us. Thank you, Ankit, sir. Aniket, sir, you are also be thank you for this. Anshul, sir, are providing a very big knowledge for this. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
all the
ma'am.
participants. Those are very good listeners for this topic. Thank you for all.
मित्र कह रहा हूँ
The feedback link is provided you soon.
एक मिनट रुक जाओ मैं बोल रहा हूँ नेहा the examination link will be shared at 3:15 sorry 3 p.m. and it will be open for the 45 minutes. So kindly attend the exam, and today feedback come attendance form I am sharing just now. So also fill the form, and our FDP validity function is scheduled at 4 p.m. So kindly again join at the before 10 minutes, at least before 10 minutes. Okay, thank you for all the participants, and all the best for your test examination.